Welcome to the Boomer Briefing Podcast, where we help you solve a critical business issue in 20 minutes or less. I'm your host, Jon Hubbard, shareholder and consultant here at Boomer Consulting. And with me today is Sandra Wiley. Hi, Sandra. Thank you for being on the podcast today.
Welcome, John. Thank you so much for having me.
It's always a pleasure to speak with you. And Sandra is also a shareholder and president of Boomer Consulting. She works a lot with firms around the country, kind of specializing in leadership and talent, among other things. But those are two really big areas of focus for you, Sandra. So the topic we have today fits right in your wheelhouse, and that is how to move your firm forward in the areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Really big topic, but we're going to try and tackle at least a piece of it here today on this episode. So first question for you, Sandra, is why is it important for firms to really think about how do we move forward in this DEI area?
You know, I appreciate the fact that we're going to tackle this today. I also would tell you, my gosh, it's such a huge bucket that we have to really dive into and go deep with. So it's probably not going to give us as much time as we would like. And I could talk about this topic all day long because it is so important. But when you talk about why firms should be thoughtful about it, why they should be thinking about it, why they should have it on their radar, you know, I would tell you the very first thing is it's time. It's history, right? History is being made in our world right now, and you want to be a part of that. And that is not ignoring and not deflecting and not thinking it's okay because, you know, we're farther down the road. It's your time. And if you want to go deeper into what it will do for your firm, you know, things that this is going to really make a critical change in your culture, in the engagement that you have with your team. It's going to help in so many different ways. If you were to take a bucket of all the things that could be better in your firm: productivity, engagement, reducing stress, more inclusion for people feeling they belong. So therefore, you're going to keep people longer. Your turnover is going to be less. You're going to have happier and more productive employees. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And it literally can kind of connect the dots into every single part of your firm. This will make you better. Why would you not do this? Why would you not try to make your team more diverse? Why would you not make people feel more included? Why would you not feel that equity among the people in your firm is better? That I just think there's so many things that it could touch that we're kind of silly if we don't go down this road, if we do not start educating ourselves.
That's excellent. So, you know, someone may hear that and say, I'm really on board with Sandra. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, there's probably some curveballs ahead. There's probably some, times where we might be a little uncomfortable. But Sandra, what would you say? And I know you get asked this question a lot. How should we approach this? What solutions do you have for us? How should we go about doing this? What are other firms doing in this area? Would you mind speaking on that a little bit?
Not at all. Not even a little bit. I wouldn't mind it. I think it's really kind of broken into three pieces. First and foremost, and I think the most important thing that each of you that are listening can do is to educate yourself. Get a little uncomfortable. Read books, look at podcasts, look at TED Talks, do whatever you have to do to educate yourself and make yourself feel a little uncomfortable about maybe where you're at today. No matter what your color, no matter what your nationality, no matter who you are, everybody can educate themselves. So I think it starts there. Secondly, form a group of people in your firm that are passionate about this, that really want to move things forward. And let them start working on, okay, what could we do as a company, as a business, to move forward in a very positive and positive way. Look at your processes. Look at how you're doing things today. Understand that you may have to do things different going forward and really challenge yourself. And I'll give you a really quick example. I was talking to somebody about their recruiting, and they said, my gosh, I think we're doing great in our recruiting. You know, we look for people that are different than us. And so I said, okay, so let me ask you a question. Do you actually see the candidates early in the interview process. And they said, oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, they were doing a video early call. And I said, okay, so if there just happened to be some prejudice, some that you didn't really realize you had, would it potentially come out there? And they said, I don't really think so. I mean, the pushback was, I really think we're fine there. So I brought up a story I heard years ago, and I hope it's okay. I talk about this on the podcast because I think it's really important. There was the New York Philharmonic, and they were doing open auditions, and somebody made the comment, look at the group of people we have in the orchestra, and it's 90% men and 10% women. And if you look at Black versus white, it was, same. It was very, very low. So, and they said, we are very progressive. We only listen to how they, how they actually perform. So they decided to start doing blind auditions, and they had people come in behind a screen, and they would only listen to how they performed and not at all to the way they looked. And within just a few years, it was more like a 50-50 split. And they said they didn't know what they didn't know. That, you're blind to some of the things that are happening that you truly, it's not conscious, it's an unconscious bias kind of situation. So challenge yourself to really look at how you're promoting, how you're hiring, how you are advertising, and challenge yourself to look different than what you do today. I think that's an important part of what you could do today. And then just spread the wealth among your team. Start educating more. Start listening more. I think one of the things I heard from one of our teammates, John, was, I don't expect everything to change overnight, but I wish people would just listen to my story. I wish they would listen to some of the things that have happened to me and how that might shape who I am. That made a big impression on me. The fact that I could stop and just listen. So that's what I would tell your audience.
Well, I think that's great, Sandra. And those three areas are really vital. Can I hone in on one of those and just have you kind of riff on it just a little bit? And that is the forming a group within your firm. I know you've helped firms think through this. You're aware of firms that are doing this. Speak a little bit about what makes a group like that successful. Is it cross-representation from different departments? Obviously, there's the desire to have some diversity in that group, but could you just speak a little bit about making that group successful?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I think are helping firms. One is obviously representation from different groups of people in the firm. It almost becomes obvious, like, okay, we need people that are young and people that are old, and people that are different departments. We need people that are different in color and nationality and all those kind of things, right? I would also tell you, be okay having an uncomfortable person in that group. So have somebody within the group that's going to push on you a little bit. We're thinking about doing this. Well, I don't know that that's really what we need to do. The people that you think are going to maybe push back on this entire DEI initiative. The reason I say that is because that's the people you're really going to have to navigate through as you're putting things into place. And if you don't know what they're thinking and how they're going to react, it's going to be really hard for you to make that initiative happen. So that's okay to have that happen. The other thing that very possibly could happen is as you're kind of forming that advisory group or that coalition of people that are going to work together, right? It's that you're going to look around and go, we don't really have anybody to put on this team that's in a diverse group, right? They all look like us. You may have to go outside of your firm and find people to bring in to be on that advisory council with you. So it may be that you've got to expand your reach a little to get to the right people inside. So don't be afraid that if you can't find everybody you really want in that group within the four walls of your firm, go outside to make sure you get them there. I think that's an important part of it.
Excellent advice. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for that. So, in a lot of ways, our profession is late to this game, or a lot of firms are not they're only a year or so into this. At least a lot of the firms that we've spoken to, they feel like that, whether they are or not. Maybe they feel they're in their infancy with this. But with that context and with that being said, what type of, positive results are you seeing firms have in this area that are actually making, DEI a focus?
That's an excellent question, because I think a lot of people feel like they're way behind in the kind of the game of this. They're way behind in how their initiatives are going. You know what? We're all in kind of our infancy here, and that is sad for me to say, but I am too. I thought, here's my reality. I thought I was pretty progressive. I've worked with lots of different people. I've known lots of different people. I feel like I don't have a lot of bias out there. And what I'm finding is I have more than I thought I did. I'm finding that I don't know as much as I thought I did. So we're all in our infancy. Be okay with that. Just accept that, bring it in. It's okay. What is not okay is doing nothing. That's what's not okay. So it's okay to kind of feel like you're just getting started, and it's okay as long as you're making steps forward and you're really figuring out some things that will make positive steps in our communities, in our firms, with our people. So I guess I would just tell you, be okay with being a little uncomfortable. There's some great podcasts out there that talk about getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that's, in this particular topic, or in this area that we are all navigating right now, I think that's a big one. It was interesting. I don't know if it really belongs here or not, but I got to tell you, one of the things that I got challenged with one time for myself, and I would challenge everybody that's listening to do this, is stop and take a look at your pod of people, right? Look at the people you go to church with, look at the people that you interact with at work, look at the people that you go to dinner with and you go out on Friday nights and have, a fun time with, and ask yourself, do they look like me? And are they all the same as me? And the answer many times, no matter who you are, is yes. They that's where I'm comfortable. And the comment was, then go outside of your comfort zone. Invite somebody new to go to lunch with you. Invite somebody who looks different and acts different and is different than you to go out on Friday night. Develop a relationship with them. Listen to them about their family and their backgrounds. And all of a sudden, your world becomes much larger. It becomes much broader. It becomes much richer. And it will take effort on each person's part to do that. But I am telling you, I am encouraging you strongly to do that, because you will be a better person, and you'll be a better person for your firm if you make that happen.
That's great. And Sandra, I remember this was maybe a couple of years ago, you and I were in a workshop together, and very similar to what you just laid out, we were asked the question, write down 20, the top 20 people you trust the most. And it was that word trust too. That was kind of like, oh, well,
Yes.
that's interesting. And as you write them down, right, they're in your personal life, professional life, all around, and then start to examine what they look like. And it is very eye-opening. So I second your recommendation to the listeners to really, really do that. So Sandra, what are you seeing happening outside the profession? And I know this is a really big question, but what are you seeing happening outside the profession, especially within other organizations trying to move forward in this area? Anything you'd like to share with our listeners?
I thought about this question a lot. I honestly don't think there's any profession out there that is all that much different. And I'm not saying that to let us off the hook, that we're the only ones that are behind. I think there's a lot of people that are really behind and really having good conversations and really having amazing things happen in their firm around the DEI initiatives. But the reality is everybody's dealing with this. So I don't think you're going to be, as an accounting firm, you're going to feel that different than the bank down the road, or the manufacturing company. We're all dealing with this. And so I think there's actually going to be a bit of comfort in knowing that we are not alone. Watch, and when you read about what's going on outside of the accounting profession, but just in the world in general, in this area of DEI, I think you're going to find some amazing resources and some really amazing connections there. So I actually think outside of our profession, it's going to be similar, but we can all learn from each other, which is exactly what we should be doing.
Yep. That's great. So what would you have in terms of recommendation for next steps? You laid out kind of the three areas earlier of kind of, focus, but just to reiterate, as we close out our conversation here, Sandra, what is the next step our listeners should take in this area?
Well, I think the first step is read. I got to tell you, I just think that's such an important part of our growth and our growing up in this area. So I would say from a personal standpoint, get everything you can to read. And if it's a book that you first pick up and read and you go, "Ugh, this makes me feel kind of uncomfortable," slug through it, because you'll read it again and again. And pretty soon you'll start going, I get it, right? So make yourself a little uncomfortable there. Share openly. Don't be afraid to have conversations. If you see something that's going on, either in your hiring practices, in your process practices, in the clients that you're attracting, share openly what you see and offer suggestions for how it might get better. So be that person that is the driver of this. And the last thing I would say is change, but change intentionally. Nothing is going to happen by just having a general conversation, changing a little bit, and then going back to normal. That is not going to change. You've got to be intentional about the changes that you make in order to really make our world and your firm a better place.
That's great. Thank you, Sandra. I know you love talking about this topic. So how can our listeners reach out to you, maybe get in contact with you?
I would tell you, obviously, social media. I am on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook. You can reach me there, or you can email me. I am completely okay. In fact, I am more than okay getting emails from folks that want to have a conversation about this, and maybe together we learn a little bit more. So obviously my email address works just as well.
All right, perfect. And that is sandra.wiley@boomer.com as well. So feel free to reach out to Sandra directly. Sandra, as always, it was a pleasure having you on this episode. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, John. It's always a pleasure being here. Love your audience and love working with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Sandra. And for our listeners, just a reminder, please subscribe, and we release a new episode every Tuesday morning. So stay tuned for the next Boomer Briefing episode. Thanks so much.